Clarke Osborne, welcome to Torquay United today. This is now officially your football club.
Yeah.
And I suppose the first place to start, you've been involved with a lot of businesses, including sporting enterprises. How are you finding life in the world of professional football?
Interesting. I think it is like most businesses actually. When you look under the cover, it's much more complex than seems from the outside, and I think Torquay is no exception to that. There are some fantastic people involved in this club, which is very gratifying and very interesting. I think the organisation has been here at the club has been under some stress and strains over the last few years, and that tells in any organisation when things aren't going well through a period of time and they get uncertainty, etc. Things change within an organisation, and it sometimes can lose its identity, and it loses its momentum. So I think we've discovered that. So there is a bit of work we think to do in that respect to rebuild that. But generally some fantastic people.
What are the early challenges you have faced as owners and controllers of the football club is that word that's been sort of bandied around of ratification from the National League? Tell us a little bit, what is that process? What does it actually mean?
Okay, well, it's a process which if any football club changes hands, not only in the National League but in any league, there is a process which is brought in, and the purpose of it is to do two things. First of all is to make sure that the purchaser, in this case me and my company, is what they call fit and proper, and the second is to actually examine that in acquiring this asset, you not only have the money to acquire it, but you have the money to operate it and to actually keep it in existence. So that's what we have been doing with the National League. We're not in any way separated out from anybody else in that respect. Every change of ownership goes through that process, and it's good. It's been a bit, it gets a bit frustrating because it takes a while, and but I've been there before in terms of being fit and proper. So when you're involved in leisure and you're involved in gambling and those businesses, you have to go through that process. So it wasn't unusual.
We now, if I could sort of turn our attention to the football pitch, and obviously there's no masking. We're in a difficult place at the moment. We need to pick up some results. But when you look at the wider vision for Torquay United, not just the short term of the next few games, but how do you guys see it in the media term of your ambitions for this football club?
I could probably encapsulate it in two words: sustainable success. Sustainability is really important because you have to build for that. So our vision is that we build within the club a really sustainable organisation which goes right out through an academy, which we want to see back here, but so that the whole club is built on a very firm foundation, and it will then get, I believe, a level of continuity, and success will come from that, and we will climb the leagues. I mean, that's where we want to be.
Obviously, those things on the pitch in the immediate term is we all sort of sit and watch and hope that Kevin and the boys can do a great job for us. Behind the scenes, you perhaps have a little bit more early control in terms of your backroom staff, and most notably the introduction of Jeff Harrop as general manager. How do you see that structure developing over time?
Well, Jeff is we're very impressed with Jeff. He's a good guy. He's part of what we want to build here, which is a really sustainable business. and a real administration which can actually take the organisation forward. Jeff is going to be supplemented by some other people. We've just taken on a guy called Dave Hedges, who is of football background, is essentially a chief scout, and to help us develop with Jeff an academy structure. So there will be more people joining the organisation as we go forward, and the aim is actually that this isn't a subsidiary of Gaming International. This is Torquay United Football Club. It is its business, and the facilities and the people that we have in GI, some of whom are very experienced in areas, will only ever take a supportive role. They're just there as a resource, really. This club builds itself.
So in that context, you see that the day-to-day running is down to Jeff and his team. Is that correct?
Absolutely right.
Looking back, so we've sort of looked forward to the future. Obviously, with the ratification we've received, that has then led to the resignation of former chairman David Phillips and his team. Is there anything you'd like to say about those guys and their era in time in charge of the club?
I think, I mean, first of all, you know, I've done it before. I've paid tribute to them because they've supported the club financially and with time and effort through a very difficult period. I think that they did everything with the very best intentions, and I think that they were and are genuine supporters of the club. So my thanks goes out to them, well, indeed, on behalf of the supporters of the club, because they were certainly before me, but I think the supporters should thank them for their stewardship. It hasn't worked out as they would have hoped, but notwithstanding that, they are good supporters and they're good people.
Torquay United has been a sort of focal point for the community for many, many years. How do you see that evolving, not just in Torquay, but the South Devon and beyond, our place in this community?
Well, two communities. One is the football community, and in the football community, I want to see Torquay United at the very centre of it. And I think that's its place, it's its natural place. And I think that it should develop that and continue to develop that. I mean, you know about football in the community, and you probably know much more than I do. But already that is established, already that is working. And I think that that should be extended. And I hope that we're going to be able to bring forward an academy. I hope that that is going to be almost a centre of sporting excellence, if we can get it right. So therefore we will be at the centre of certainly football for the whole area. In terms of the community at large, I mean, that is about the involvement of people. So we're going to be working very hard, or should I say you guys are going to be working very hard on engaging and continuing to engage with both individuals and with businesses, so that they feel a part of the club, so that they have an opinion and their opinions are listened to, and we evolve the club around them so that they engage continuously with us. And I hope that spreads. And there's no reason why it shouldn't, because it is already established. I mean, if you think about it, the gatherings here for a football game are probably the largest gathering in Torquay of people on average. So that's already happening. That's going to that should be extended. So there should be more people here, obviously, but also it should extend its tentacles into the whole community within Torquay.
How do you see the process of engaging with that supporter base? And there's various different methods, but given the age we live in, and I know this is something that's been discussed by yourselves and in and around the club, some sort of perhaps electronic platform that we could introduce, and we're not sure of the mechanics of that, but do you see that as a possibility for the football club?
Absolutely. And as we've discussed, I mean, I think that is going to be key. Well, in fact, it already is. It is the new age of communication. I mean, it's beyond me. I mean, I use it, but for the next generations, I mean, that is all they know, and that's what they're comfortable with, and we've got to embrace that position. So we're bringing our resource. So already you will have seen our IT people here. And we want to see that up and running and professionally run as quickly as possible.
One of the major sort of talking points, if you like, is your expertise and background in stadiums and your knowledge in that area. What can you tell supporters and the community about your plans for a potential new stadium for Torquay United?
Well, it's an integral part. First of all, it's an integral part of what we see as the vision. So, and that was on the table for us when we first arrived here. My own feeling is that it's essential for the club, for its long-term sustainability, that it has a new home, and that home is actually bigger in concept than we have now. So it is more of an events facility which is centred around the football club, rather than a football ground, as it were. That's really, really important for a number of reasons. In terms of financial sustainability, what we know is that a football club needs to have revenue streams which are expansive. So we have to be able to lock into that. We also know that, and it's an ongoing scenario, that customers or supporters of football require more and more facilities. That's what they expect, because that's what you have in life. So those facilities have to be up to the mark, and they have to be available, and they have to be of a quality and comfort at a level. So we need to be able to do that. We also need to be able to recognise that a lot of people who go to football, and we want to get more coming to football, drive, and they need to park. So we need to be able to do that. And we also need to recognise that we live in within a community, and that we have almost a footprint in that community, and therefore we need to be able to organise our activities not once every fortnight, but 4 times a week, 5 times a week. Now, if you do that, you have to be conscious of where you're doing it. You have to be conscious of neighbours. So in these circumstances, for example, where we now sit, can't park a car, but we would, if we ran this to its maximum availability 3 days a week or 4 days a week, you can imagine the disruption to the community would be enormous. So you have to think in that way. So I embrace it. I mean, I think it's really exciting, and I think that the council think it's really exciting as well. So I think there are real opportunities. The other area that I see that we need to develop is an academy, and that's a physical development of an academy. And there I think we want to embrace more football. We want to embrace more sport and leisure. So again, we are looking within our sort of area to find the right site to develop an academy, which is also a centre for soccer and is also a centre for sport and leisure.
My final question, naturally, with the sort of emotion that goes with football fans and football clubs, any change of ownership will have a level of scepticism, and questions will be asked, and that's fans forums are a-buzzing. From your point of view, can you speak and tell the supporters of Torquay United about your motivations for taking control of this football club?
Yes, I'm as an individual, I am fascinated, and still fascinated even at my age. I'm fascinated by sport, I'm fascinated by business, I'm fascinated by organisation, and I'm fascinated by people. I think that Torquay United is almost sleeping, and I think it seems to me that there is such an opportunity to create something which everybody can be very proud of. That was a compelling thing for me. I mean, I'm a pretty quiet individual, so I don't, it's not a trophy. This isn't something that I wanted to do all of my life. So I'm not sat here saying, I've always been a Torquay United football supporter and I've always wanted to own the club, and that's what I've always wanted to do, because that's not true. The fascination for me is in the potential, and that's where I get my excitement, if you like, from that, whether it's good or bad. But that's the primary motivation.
Well, Clarke Osborne, new owner of Torquay United, as fans and staff, we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.